Surprise, surprise, surprise. We're going live here on Instagram, Empowerment Experiences, and I am, of course, recording a video to, at some point, upload to YouTube. I was just led to do this on Instagram for now to start. It literally was a last minute, let me do this thing, because the overwhelm of regrets, of the weight of it has me energetically grasping. And I know I am not the only one that is in this space right now. And that is why I had to come on and chat about this. So for those who are new around here, my name is Rochelle Richard, and here at Empowerment Experiences, we look for, we find, and yes, we reclaim our power all along this which is each our own self-love empowerment journeys. So with that, regrets. I have a few. I have many. The space of sabotage, it seems, this last year has been big, huge, massive. So there is definitely work to be done, that shadow work space of really sitting in the discomfort of the fact that you can't go back and change it. You cannot go back and make another choice. You can't go back and not date the guy that you really didn't want to date and turn down the one that you really did. You can't go back and not spend the money on something that ended up not being what you thought it was. You can't go back and undo anything that you've done. And as someone here who, is really, really connected with this whole regrets and mistakes space, because it's literally at my root, it's in my core. I am, after all, my mother's mistake. And she made sure I knew I was. And that was from a very young age. So by the time I was 18, I left my parents' home literally with this knowing that I was not just a mistake, but I was a cosmic joke. That I literally was not supposed to be in this world. And that ended up leading me into a space of such extreme self-loathing that I ended up in domestically abusive relationships, being raped, gang raped, assaulted, all sorts of, experiences that when you don't really care about yourself truly and you don't care what happens, you make choices that align with someone who doesn't care what happens. And I did that. I'm guilty. And next thing you know, I was a pimped out, drug addicted prostitute. That's what was next. And I genuinely believed I deserved all of the horrible things that were happening to me. I did. Now, the challenge with all of this, and why I've got to reiterate it, is because that part of me, it's so embedded, it's so interwoven in everything I fucking do in my world, that when I genuinely, truly desire something, Do I drop a fucking nuclear bomb on that shit? And I did it with this guy that I liked, and I shut down every opportunity I would have had to like communicate about it because I felt rejected, and ultimately I set myself up for that. Goddesses, listen. When you have this part of you that doesn't believe you are worthy of your truest and deepest desires, you will sabotage yourself. You will operate from this place that is going to basically create more and more regrets for yourself, more and more mistakes that you're going to look back and go, oh, I wish I could undo that. I wish. And today has been very, very loud in that energy for me. Very loud. So what do we do? What do we do when we are consumed with regret, consumed with this past and wanting to go back and change it because, well, you really truly believe you didn't make the right choice? But what if, and this is the first thing, what if you did? Well, on one hand, yeah, it was a sabotage. You basically attacked in some way, shape, or form what you wanted. You made decisions that went against your desire, such as, for me, doing something that I feel now I recognize, because I'm a Gemini, I have a mouth, and I will say shit. And something that I said a few months ago about losing interest in a guy, and because him, seriously, why? Well, because he's fucking awesome. That's why you were interested in him to begin with. And no, it's really not honestly that easy to just lose interest in him, especially after years. And it doesn't make sense why. I mean, it does make sense why you'd be interested in him, but even more so, it makes sense why you would sabotage it all. Why you would lean into something and make a fool of yourself just to have it come back and backfire on you. I wish. I really wish I could make different choices than what I did, and I apologize for the emotion. But this is what it's like. When you keep looking at the past, when you keep holding your focus on something you cannot change, something you do not have power over. You only have power right here and now in this moment. And that's where the work lies. It's right here. Because your power isn't anywhere else. So yeah, you're where you're supposed to be. Let me say that. Like I said, what if it wasn't a mistake? What if the choices you made and the actions that you took were exactly what you were supposed to make and take? Because that's part of your healing journey, and whatever role or purpose it happened that involved others, well, they had their own learning and their own growth to experience, just like you. Their own way of healing, just like you. So I promise you, and I'm saying this as I'm looking at two screens with my reflection, which I have to say I look pretty fucking good right now. I feel good. In spite of feeling like shit, I swear to God, just 10 minutes ago. And that's why I'm like, nope, I gotta go live. Because you are where you're supposed to be. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, because if you were supposed to be anywhere other than where you are, you would be. I promise you that. You can ask the universe. I promise you. You really would be somewhere else if you were supposed to be. Your path would have gone differently if it was supposed to. You would have chosen differently if you were truly supposed to. See, this is what we've got to do, is we have to be the ones to reframe it, to allow ourselves to see the truth of the totality of this experience. Because again, and as an air sign, as a Gemini, I will obsess. I'm talking fucking obsess about overthinking and overanalyzing and what I should have done and what I didn't do and what I could have done, and if I would have, then it would have gone this way. But I don't know. We don't know that. But the gift of being an air sign, of being all wanting to connect the dots and reveal the patterns. I mean, this is why being a self-love empowerment coach is so perfect for me, because it's about looking at patterns. It's about owning up to your shit, taking accountability for it. No spiritual bypassing. And if you catch yourself doing that, and I was around others that were doing that, and then had an issue when I started to take full accountability for my shit, and that completely triggered someone in my life who then blew up at me and made me the villain. And I'm like, okay, considering I have no problem being the villain in my own life, when I recognize I'm the one that sabotaged myself, sure, I'll be the villain in your life too. It's also apparently a Gemini thing. Because we are big time mirrors, and we are the kind that, we will match you and then we will raise you. You want to start some shit, Gemini's gonna finish it. Bank on it. And maybe that's also, again, the whole self-love empowerment, the regrets, the side of it, because it's like, oh, really? We have regrets? We feel like a mistake? Let's really show ourselves what that looks like. So I promise you, Goddess, I get it. I get the regrets. So the second thing we do, as we're firstly reframing the entire experience for ourselves and reassuring ourselves that we really didn't, because you have to start there. You have to start to relieve that pressure, that constriction. Like, you've got a chokehold on yourself. You got to stop doing that to yourself first. Okay, you got to take the pressure off. And then second, that's when we start to actually do the work to clear the shit. And I promise, if you have regrets, if you're feeling like you have made mistakes, what is it that you're being called to do? What is one of the most important things that's going to facilitate a release and a relief of that? Forgiveness. The Ho'oponopono practice. And as someone who is, again, fully accountable here, I honestly have not done the Ho'oponopono practice in long enough. Let's say that, long enough. So I know for me, that's definitely the assignment after this live, is to go and marinate in that space of release and relief, forgiveness, so that I can give myself the freedom to move on, because nobody else can do that for you, Goddess. And ultimately, that's the biggest space, the biggest chunk of forgiveness, is forgiving ourselves. Because that is the most challenging thing to do, ultimately, because we allowed it to happen. We participated. We made the choices. We took the action. Again, we allowed someone else to behave a certain way. We did that. And that's a lot. That's a lot to own up to and to swallow that, right? The ego and its pride, it does not want to swallow that down and accept the role that it's had in its own creation, in our own creation. I did that. I sabotaged the guy that I liked and then made a fool of myself along the way. And I never did lose interest in him. I just learned to put it away. I wasn't nice about it with myself, but that's where I get to grow more in my own self-love and self-love empowerment and realize and know that I am the shit. I know this and I have so much to offer, and if he doesn't want me, that's truly his loss. And that is the key, to recognize for yourself that you deserve what you desire. And ultimately, it does come down to, I genuinely feel like I sabotaged it. I take full and complete accountability and responsibility for all of that. And that, again, is the forgiveness piece of being able to take the responsibility and have the accountability to it, but then to also accept that it's done and you cannot change it. All you can do is release yourself from the bondage of the regret, from the prison that regret creates. Because I can tell you right now, sister, it just is over and over and over and over and over. It's like a fucking hamster wheel. And there's a few messages that I have to send. Make amends, I feel, for some of my behavior. Because you see, that's something that we also do when we are upset with ourselves, when we are in regret, when we feel like we are just making mistakes all the time. Guess what? You're going to then open mouth and insert foot. You're going to say shit that you might not have normally liked to say. So you have to hopefully be able to circle back around and own up to that. And again, accountability, accountability, accountability. And the third thing, because I know there's a third thing we're supposed to do here. This is a whole divinely guided, and when I say we're supposed to do, meaning in this video, in this clip that is coming. So first is, again, begin to release the chokehold. Start to shift the perspective for yourself. Second, then actually begin to release the shit with Ho'oponopono, the forgiveness freedom practice. That's what I call it. And I have for years, right? Release it. And so the third thing then is creating a new narrative for yourself, telling a new story, as Abraham teaches us. Because, you know, it is true. I could clearly tell when I was in the story of my pro-manifestation, especially about the guy, like there was things happening. Now, whether anything would have ever come to pass, who knows? But the point was, I blew it out of the water because of my bullshit. It was all my shit, all me. Because of the clashing perspectives that I held, especially as a Gemini. Like, what? So I had this whole vision, which, sidebar, Delulu is not the Salulu when it comes to a person. If you are interested in someone, trust me when I tell you from personal experience, don't. Do not develop a vision about them. Do not visualize them. Do not, because then you're bound to really have some regrets. Let's just say that. Then you're bound to put yourself out there in a way that, yeah, you're going to get rejected. It's going to backfire, especially if, one, that's not allowed for you. And I was one where my interest in this guy, I knew it was never allowed. But I allowed myself to do it. So that was the mistake. Ultimately, it was the original mistake. But because I did, and I let it, I fed it, I fueled it. Oh my God, like, I'm not gonna lie though. Life was so good. I was so lit up. I was so, oh my God, life was so good when I was in that space of visualization and intentional manifestation about this person. But like I said, I sabotaged myself. I shut it down. I did that. And where I am now, I am not going to lie that I'm not sure what to even do with myself in a little bit of it. And so that's why the third step is so vital of you have to create the narrative of how you do want it to be. Even if it's just that he's not mad at me. Or that, it's fine. Moving on. If you would like to, because I finally did publish a video I made about this circumstance with this guy that I was so very much interested in and was for a long time. And you can hear like the story of it and then how I ended up falling into a relationship with someone else who was nothing like him. But because he had the same name, I twisted it in my head that, oh, I'm supposed to be with this person, even though I was actively manifesting someone else. Well, I failed that test. So again, more regret, more mistakes, more things that I wish I could change. But again, I can't change anything that's happened, and neither can you. Neither can you. And we got 22:22 on my little timer here. The only thing we can change is the way we look at the circumstance, is the story that we tell, how we want to view that person in our lives who you didn't end up getting to be with. And that's okay. Not everything you want wants you. And so as I process releasing that and reframing and rewriting an entirely new story, just know that I know what you're going through, goddess. If this is what you're having to do in your world, which I'm sure a few of you are, then you're not alone. You're not alone. I've definitely done this for a few years. This is just one that, yeah, because I have definitely had a history with the whole dating and men kind of thing. I mean, I am a former pimped out, drug addicted prostitute here who went through all of the abuse and everything before even becoming that, and then endured all those abuses as well. That ultimately, that's why I really try to keep myself from dating at all, from even entertaining the idea. And that's unfortunately been the rewrite that my shadow aspect, my shadow self has wanted to rewrite, is again that I was never meant to be with anybody. And since the one I pick, because it was correlated to being 19, where I picked someone and I didn't get him either. And so the one I pick, I don't get. And the ones the universe sends me are shit. So why bother? I guess single is the only way. So, woo! This is again processing my shit with all of you so you can see it too. I would, again, I cannot say this enough. And I know you feel me on this. I would give anything to go back and change some of the choices that I made. With that, I would love for you to comment and let me know that I'm not alone in this. I mean, I know I'm not. However, for you to acknowledge that for yourself. You're seen, Goddess. I see you. I acknowledge you. And I promise you're not a mistake. You didn't make any mistakes that can't be rectified in respect to your journey and your life and your soul's experience. Because everything, as painful as it might be to say this right now, apparently, everything you've chosen, it was supposed to be that way. It really was. Because of this, the healing, the releasing, you've got to allow that for yourself. Okay? This is how you process this regret. You have to feel the feelings. You have to let yourself walk through that emotional frequency scale. Hold the space for yourself. Feel what you need to feel so you can finally heal what is being asked to be healed, so that you don't keep falling into these cycles of sabotage and keeping yourself from having the things that you want the most. So, number one, loosen the grip. Okay? Loosen the grip on the story that you've been telling. Loosen your grip on wanting to change what you cannot change. Number two, forgive yourself. Release it entirely. Forgive yourself for those choices, for what you cannot change. And then number three, write yourself a new story. Tell it a different way so that you can feel better about yourself and you can feel better about yourself moving forward, as well as how you reflect on what you've already come through. Okay? With that, Goddess, I remind you, as I have for years, because I know this to be true 1000%, that the power's in your hands. The power to loosen the grip, the power to release it, and the power to shift it. That's in your hands. Because that power has always, always been inside you. Namaste.